So I'm back to the home office from the gym. Just wanted to recap a little bit about, what the daily mind exercise might consist of. And I'll just give you an example about like today. So, what went wrong. I couldn't sleep all night. I didn't get to sleep till 10:30 in the morning, and I only slept for, a few hours. But then got up and opened the computer and tried to download a program, and instead Chromium malware downloaded. So then the storm came through, and just when I was getting ready to go for a bike ride, and then that knocked out the power, which I couldn't do any work anymore. And the funny thing is that the electricity was on everywhere in the entire city except for this only block. And it always happens. It's just kind of a nudge. My normal response would have been to go off the deep end, and make it a bad day. But with the daily mind exercise, you got to get away from that, and that's what it's really all about. It involves spiritual development, emotional development, mental development, social development, and physical. That's why going to the gym is just very good for your brain and your mind. But as long as you have to think about the mind, though, when you're at the gym or when you're training and exercising the mind. Otherwise, you can't align the conscious, unconscious, and superconscious without making sure you're acknowledging it. So, that's why you have to change your perspective, your point of view of seeing of things. So instead of going off on the deep end when you're having the bad day, you gotta view that as a catalyst. Instead of a deliberate attack on you. And there's no really other way to change that unless you practice daily. So, and it takes months, minimum 3, usually 6 months to a year, to change that way of thinking. And you got to change your belief system. So it's a real pain in the ass. It takes a lot of work in terms of mental, work. Well, actually, it's harder to do some of the mental work than it is the physical work when you're doing exercising. But I'll just give you the example. So what went right? When I just remain calm and chill out and go dynamically with the flow. And that's what you got to do. You got to go with the flow, be dynamic. People say plans never work. Well, maybe because life's not really supposed to be, all planned out. Otherwise, the source wouldn't need you because they're masters at planning. You wouldn't need to be here if everything was supposed to work out as planned or pre-planned, right? It's supposed to be spontaneous. That's why you forget everything and end up doing some sort of, life, right? Many wish that they've lived more in the moment. That was one of the 12 things that they have here on the list. So, people, where the heck did it go? Wanting to, wishes that they should, would, could have done, So what went right at the gym, I got there and the idea started flowing. About work and about daily problems and, different things that you need to get solved. Now, for me, it was work. But the funny thing is I forgot my phone, so I couldn't record it. But no big deal. I drove back home and picked it up. And it worked out for the best because I made really good content videos. And then I have a whole sheet that I thought of when I was there for another video. So if I trashed the day earlier on, it wouldn't have went like this, obviously. It was a great workout too, physically. So I came back and the power was up and running. So it's essential to remain calm and clear-headed, open for a spontaneous adventure. And many people, it's hard for them to do that. They have to have it planned. But, you can actually still practice the system even if you're a planner. However, it's important that you add contingency plans to your plan, because you have to go with the flow. You have to be dynamic. But the big thing is that you have to have a true belief that everything will work out for the better. And that was one of the big things that I've learned from not only experience, but I proved to myself over and over and over again. You still get bent out of shape, when you're in that gray area. You're not sure if it's going to work out, but to maintain that belief is very important. So you got to keep trucking. It takes a lot of practice, just to chill out and believe that, hey, we'll get it to work out. But when you think about it, most people's things that they do tend to work out. But the biggest thing there is that they have to have the freaking patience. And that's the biggest, toughest, most difficult thing to hold on to, is be patient. You're sitting there, your emotions are ready to strangle something. You're ready to just go off the handle, and now you got to sit there and be calm and patient. But I found out the patience is what pays off, time and time again. Now, you still have to work at it daily, but the bigger thing is you want to do it in incremental stages when you work at it, not thinking you have to do these major leaps every time. Like for me, I only focus on one thing a day. Many people take and multitask, and they're all worn out. And typically they can't focus, and they can't do that well of a job because they're doing so many different things and they're trying to get done. And depends on your lifestyle. It's the difference between quantitative and qualitative, right? But on this process that I developed, you can do it both ways. Just that I found out that you tend to go, you start out quantitative, and then as you start learning and slow down and calm, you end up doing it slower and qualitative later. So for me, I'm just always a qualitative guy. Takes me a lot longer to do anything, but that's all right, because we're infinite, I think. Now, all still requires effort. Like, for example, for now, I have to come and remove the damn malware off my computer. And it just drives me bananas. It's like a big project. But you got to do what you got to do. You still have to the thing is, you still have to keep your mind positive about it, which is tough, especially when you're rip roaring mad about the damn thing downloading malware on your system. But otherwise, if you don't maintain a positive attitude, you'll neutralize all the earlier work of the day, the exercise that you went through, and you'll waste the whole freaking day. So it's imperative that you say, in order for me to maintain my workout, we'll talk, both physically and mentally, I have to keep under control. Otherwise, I'll neutralize the whole day's effort. And it's a lot of work to let go down the drain, and you don't want to do that. Because remember what we said in an earlier video, if you watch some of them, what you think of the most, positive, negative, that's what your default will be on the brain. Happy, sad, joyful, whatever you're thinking about most of the time, that's what's going to be your default. I didn't know that for a long time. And then once I realized that, I'm like, geez, I thought the brain was automatic. But no, it's a manual system, and you have to control it. So the main takeaway here is spend the time when you're young to learn and practice this type of lifestyle, so you can get it out of the way and live a struggle-free life, later on, and enjoy the rest of your life more. Now, you're still going to have to put in effort, but There's a difference between effort and struggling. And for the longest time, I've struggled. But now I'm putting in the effort in the right direction, which is a totally different thing. Okay? Because you're here to learn this one way or another, even if you have to repeat it until you pass. So that's if people believe about incarnations, things like that. But because we're all energy, I think it's most likely the situation. So, but you have to make your own decoding and belief system for yourself. Now I use that whether it's true or not because your subconscious doesn't know. So if you pretend, it doesn't matter. Later on, once you move to the next level, you say, well, even though it's not true or it is true, you succeeded by moving to the next level and chilling out and living a better time from that period forward on, right? So that's why there's a lot of people who fake it. So sometimes faking it until you just to the next level is well worth it. Alrighty, I went way too long on this video, but that was my takeaway, was to just give you a little recap about the day's events and how mind-exercise, daily exercise of the mind can help you. Now remember, this is not about psychology or things like that. I mean, there is a lot into it, but we don't want to get into the details. We just want to get into the basics of, okay, think a certain way, maintain an attitude. You can use that to help you solve the problems because you're calm and collective and the ideas will come to you instead of having, noisy, crazy mind. And that's what we want to get at, is that how can this make it better for you day to day? All right?